Has anyone ever called you trash before? Well, if it happens again, now instead of just punching them in the face like they probably deserve, you can get into a good serious academic argument with them. I don't know how many people have ever had personal experience dumpster diving, but you're college students, so the concept of looking out for free furniture shouldn't be all that out of your wheelhouse. I know that it took ages before I started to buy my own furniture instead of scrounge it from friends and such. You'll be hearing more about that one later on, too. But there's a lot more to this reading than just a how-to guide. At the end of the semester, students have told me quite a lot that this Eigner piece is one of their favorites, and it works because it goes so contrary to their expectations. This is the first college writing class you'll take, and for a lot of people, it's one of their first college classes. And do you expect to see something on dumpster diving on day one, right out of the gates? It's an unusual topic, and it's unusual the way Eigner goes about discussing it. He's not really writing a how-to guide. The main thing to think about when we're reading papers, to get the most out of any essay, is to try to figure out what the writer's purpose is. If we were doing all academic essays, it would be easy. We've already talked about there's a thesis statement right at the front. But we're not reading academic articles in here, so figuring out the purpose might require a little bit more detective skills. And there are lots of ways where Eigner gives hints to his purpose in here. He starts off the piece with a dictionary definition. On dumpster diving, you're going to define it for us? Then he tells us how he will proceed. He's going from the practical art of dumpster diving and proceeding to the abstract. Well, he's already outing himself as someone who had to do this. Do we expect someone to be so meticulous in how they proceed? The purpose of this piece, and the reason he starts off this way, has to do with his ability to establish himself as a little bit of an authority. You got to establish yourself as an authority if you want people to take your message seriously. And it's not just, hey, I know a lot about dumpster diving here. He's trying to do other things, and he's trying to get us engaged on it at a more intellectual level. That's why he draws distinctions between scavenging, scrounging, diving, and foraging. These words mean something different for him, and he wants us to know that there are levels of engagement available to us, and they have to do with the purpose that each of the participants of these four activities do. What are the principles for a successful dumpster diving experience? 1, using the senses. If something smells bad, it probably is. Looking to see if there's giant patches of goo coming out of a can. Knowing the area, knowing who's discarding it, how much care are they putting into such things, and asking, why was this discarded? You can survive, he said, if you think about why food was thrown away. If it was thrown away because, it's a day past the date. People tend to do that stuff a lot. Does it mean the food is bad? No. Knowing the area, if you're behind a restaurant and you see a bunch of food, restaurants have to be very stringent about dates. Knowing if something is going bad. So we're not just being talked to about dumpster diving. He's letting us know that there are particular procedures and rules at work within this world. He also talks at the end of the piece about specific lessons he has learned from dumpster diving. Take what I can use and let the rest go by. I have come to think that there is no value in the abstract. He's a very concrete person, even after no longer being homeless. Is he going to be a hoarder? No. He has a utilitarian view of stuff. The second lesson, the transience of material being. Mental things are longer lived than other material things. And this is where the true purpose of this piece starts to become clear. We're not just giving you a how-to, hey, look at all the neat stuff we can find. He's drawing a clear distinction between his life on the fringes of society and how us people in society live. He has a code. He has rules. You respect the places you're working at. You don't leave messes for other people. You have your territory. You use everything you can. How do we act in our regular society? We throw away a lot. We throw away a whole lot of stuff. When we get stuff, it's overpackaged. We are wealthy people who don't really track where we spend our wealth. We're wasteful. We're extravagant. He's outside of society, living a more pure existence than us who are in society, because we're throwing away a lot of crap, and he's able to more than get by based on just what he finds. So it's a much more intellectual, philosophical, if I may say, take on dumpster diving than we would expect. In order to understand this a bit more, let's think about our relationship to our stuff and how we get it a bit more in depth. This is from a BBC video series which explains these concepts a heck of a lot better than I could. Let's watch, shall we?
Those who pursue religion often turn away from worldly affairs. They're suspicious of wealth and business, preferring an ascetic life of contemplation and prayer. The sociologist and economist Max Weber argued that after the Reformation, one form of Christian Protestantism, Calvinism, encouraged a different attitude to work, with far-reaching effects. Calvinists believed in predestination. A precise number of souls would go to heaven. The lucky ones had places reserved by God. However, most Calvinists were terrified there would be no seat awaiting them in paradise. They were always on the lookout for signs that they had been saved. One clear indication that they were on the guest list was that they were actively contributing to their community through their work. In his book, The Protestant Ethic and the Spirit of Capitalism, Weber argued that the Calvinists' need to reassure themselves through their industry was an important factor in the growth of capitalism in Northern Europe. They built up businesses that generated wealth, but at the same time lived thrifty lives. They reinvested any surplus and so helped fuel capitalism. Eventually, capitalism would have a life and momentum of its own. But according to Weber at least, its initial impetus came from a theological source.
I like those videos. You'll probably be seeing another one or two of them. The interesting thing about the Protestant work ethic as originally formulated by Max Weber, work was a good thing because it got us productive. And if you were succeeding, you reinvested in the community and your money did something good. Well, the problem there is it's a very short leap from that, which is what Max Weber was actually talking about, to the idea of, hey, these people must be doing good because they're making a lot of money. That whole reinvesting thing tended to drop out relatively quickly. So do we still think that way? Do we still think that if someone's got a lot of money, they must be living a good life? The problem is when you get to the other side of the comparison. If having a lot is a sign that you're doing good, what does it mean if you don't have enough? You must be doing bad, huh? You must not be a good person. This is the level of thinking that really Eigner is working against. We think as a society our success has something to do with our moral standing, and poor people must deserve to be poor. That sounds harsh, but if you were walking out of your apartment complex and saw someone digging through the garbage, would you stop to talk to them? Probably not. If you see a homeless person, do you stop to talk to them, or do you speed up so they don't accost you? Idea is that they must have done something to deserve that lifestyle. Whereas Eigner has a different point of view. Us people who have a lot of money are wasteful as living hell. Enough that he can survive off of it. So it might be called on dumpster diving, but it's really as much about the rest of society and the special perspective that dumpster divers are able to bring to the equation. Now, let's throw in a few wrinkles, because for the most part, when we think about dumpster diving, we tend not to really think about the homeless doing it. Scrounging stuff on pickup day is a regular occurrence, particularly in any college town. When I was doing my graduate coursework, I lived in an apartment complex owned by one of the big landlords in town, and I even saw him on move-out day plowing through dumpsters to find stuff to put in his furnished apartments that he was renting. He'd find stuff, pull it out, make a call. Someone would come and pick it up. He'd go back to his massive Cadillac and drive on to the next place. So while we might not want to talk to someone digging through our garbage, we all are also a little bit hypocritical, because if we see a nice couch sitting on the side of the road, particularly for a college student, you'll probably end up grabbing it. Well, this isn't the only level of salvage going on. In some places, there's a movement called freeganism. These are activists. It started in the San Francisco area who would dig through dumpsters simply to show the amount of perfectly good food that was thrown away, as a little bit of a PR issue. And when you see the clear amount of food people throw away, it can be disturbing. Stuff is perfectly good here. But the date, so, This is a guy who is doing dumpster diving as a political statement, which is a lot different than Eigner doing it to survive. But his piece later is the political statement. So, we could talk about other things. I'm going to provide you a link to a Vox article about freeganism. I'm also going to provide you a link to a website that is specifically set up for foragers to let you know what kind of natural food is growing in your area that you can forage and where you can get it. And it's searchable. It's kind of fascinating. I've had friends who've gone off mushrooming in the past. I've got one friend who likes to, at the right time of the season change, go around and find wild asparagus growing and harvest it. So, the thing to wrap this up with is, why in the heck are we reading this in a writing class? As writers, what can we pull from this? What is the biggest lesson? Obviously, being more aware of our consumption and our waste is a good thing, but this is a writing class after all. What I love about Eigner is that it's entirely about the purpose. Yeah, it's about dumpster diving and you get information about it, but his real purpose is letting us know that we're living a wasteful existence that we don't have to live. And looking at things from different perspective might teach us that. He's not just giving us information, he's on a crusade of sorts. Purpose, if you look to try to figure out why he wrote this piece, you're going to get a lot more out of it than if you just go, oh, that's neat. The search for purpose, first and foremost, is one that you need to pull into everything you read. And when you're writing, you also have to think, why am I writing this? What information do I really want to get across? Do a good enough job of it, your work can be as cool as his. I'm betting that when you first saw this reading on the course schedule, you weren't thinking, we're probably going to be going over something which is going to in-depthly critique capitalism and consumer culture. But that's what this is doing. Its main purpose, one of its purposes might be to humanize the people who have to dive out of dumpsters, but there is clearly a larger picture at work here. Keeping in mind that there's going to be a larger picture at work is something that you're going to need to be able to apply to your own writing. And I hope going over this one helped, and I hope you enjoy it. Most students in the past have. Let's get a lot from it, though. See you next time.